All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hey, welcome in everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Good evening. I am Pixo. I will be your host today. I am on the ecosystem marketing team with Crypto Texan, and I am filling in on these spaces while he is away. I also host the DeFi and the Discord showcases every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, so make sure you stop by the Discord tomorrow at the same time. Welcome to this week's DeFi panel discussion AMA, where we will be speaking with representatives from Matcha and Zerion to explore their innovative developments on Polygon. And I see we now have Jack on stage. Welcome in, Jack. We'll go ahead and get a introduction from Jack from Polygon Labs. Let's start off with your introduction, who you are, and what you do at Polygon Labs.
Hey, sorry I was a minute late, Kyle, and apologize for any background noise. I'm about to walk back into the office, but great to be here, everyone. Excited to get to back on with Carol of OX and Matcha and the Zerion team. Been great working with both you guys. My name's Jack. I am the head of DeFi at Polygon, so we get to work a lot with both dApps, utilizing the backend infrastructure that these teams have built, as well as work directly with them as infrastructure, which has been a ton of fun, and excited to continue to grow and scale them out on Polygon.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and throw it over to, I believe, Michael on the Matcha account. I believe he has something to say quickly.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yes, this is Michael on the Matcha account, the little green logo on your screen right now. Just want to give a quick little teaser for you. We are going to mint a commemorative Zerion and Matcha NFT. Believe me, it's hot. You're going to want to see this one. I'm not going to pin it to the spaces until the end of the spaces. It's going to be a free mint on Polygon on fair.xyz. If you like that platform, stick around to the end for that link.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now let's go ahead and get into the introductions of our speakers today. I'm going to throw it over to Will Warren from Matcha. Briefly introduce yourself, who you are, and your role at Matcha.
Hey everyone. Hey, good to be with you, Jack. Thanks for having us. I'm Will. I'm the co-founder of ZeroX and Matcha. Been building since 2016 in the Ethereum space, and yeah, actually, got to know the Polygon team very early on. We were building ZeroX protocol. It's a peer-to-peer exchange protocol for swapping ERC20 tokens. And I remember meeting JD from the Polygon team, who I think he's now I think advising. But I met him at ETH Waterloo, the very first ETH Waterloo conference, and learned. I think this was in 2017, and learned more about what Polygon was doing, and we've been working pretty closely, our teams, ever since then.
Awesome. Thank you for that intro. We're going to throw it over to Evgeny from Zerion. Apologies if I mispronounced that, but can you give us a brief introduction on yourself and who you are and what your role is at Zerion?
Thanks, Kyle. You actually pronounced it really, really well. So my name is Evgeny. I'm from Zerion. I'm a co-founder and CEO. We've been actually similar to Will. We've been in the crypto space since 2016, and that's been quite a journey for us at Zerion. So we started as a portfolio tracker, then moved to become a DeFi aggregator, supporting all of the OG DeFi protocols back in 2019 and 2020. And then about a year and a half ago, we actually evolved into becoming a wallet. So I don't know if you've seen that recently on Twitter. We've just announced our browser extension, and now we're basically the best non-custodial wallet, I would say. I mean, I know I'm biased here. We've actually worked with Polygon for a very long time, and also ZeroX on the trading side. So we've been long partners, and I'm excited to be on this space.
Awesome. Happy to have you guys with us also. Thank you for those introductions. We're going to throw it back over to Will from Matcha. Can you give us a brief overview of what Matcha has been up to in the space recently?
Yeah. So Matcha is a search engine for tokens and liquidity. And so, we really think that the thing that makes Web3 so exciting and so powerful is the ability for people to share ownership, to be part of the same community, and this kind of community forming around tokens. And so we think there are going to be billions of different tokenized assets and all sorts of decentralized exchange solutions, all sorts of different layer 2 networks, and basically making it really easy to find any token, find and trade it in the most frictionless way possible. That's our North Star for Matcha as a product. And so Matcha supports over 4 million tokens to search, supports kind of your traditional swaps and limit orders, and we recently added the ability to do cross-chain swaps, so you can very easily navigate this increasingly multi-chain world.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And we're going to throw it over to Zerion. Can you give us a brief overview of what Zerion is and what you guys have been up to in the space recently?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually think of Zerion as a crypto wallet for every layer Web3. So we've recently witnessed pretty big, I guess, transition from just looking at like tokens into using these tokens in different dApps. So we've actually, by like looking at the statistics of the usage of Zerion, since the introduction of a dApp browser, for instance, at Zerion, the number of transactions that people started doing skyrocketed. And we see how like this new Web3, like the new internet basically is coming along. And we really position Zerion to be your home for this kind of world. And when I say like for every layer of Web3, we really mean that there are too many complexities when it comes to using Web3 as of right now. Obviously, there are like different tokens, different dApps, there are chains that you have to like take care of gas fees and everything else. So Zerion is your companion that basically helps you navigate all of that complexity. And in terms of the just kind of how that translates into features, I think the biggest one would be that we, given our history as a portfolio tracker and DeFi aggregator, we have a focus on understanding what's in your wallet, and we can help you make better decisions just because you know at least like how much money you have, what kind of transactions you did. And these transactions are not bloated with a lot of spam transactions. We filter everything out for you so you can focus on what matters, and you can stay safe as well while transacting, because we can simulate, for example, the result of a transaction and give you what is actually going to happen to your wallet once you make this transaction. And yeah, that's basically like a very short overview of the stuff that we've been up to as a wallet.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for the intros. Great to hear a little bit more about what you're up to. Let's dive a bit more into the product, hear about how you guys have been building the Polygon ecosystem and some of the stuff that's coming up next for the teams. Want to start off here with Matcha. We've had a lot of chances and to really work with the team there, and have been very impressed with how you guys are thinking about expanding cross-chain swaps and really moving us from this environment where liquidity exists in single places and you get execution based on what's available to actually being able to move to wherever liquidity is deepest. Would love to hear a little bit more about how you guys are thinking about cross-chain swaps on Matcha and what it looks like in an end state where there's multiple L2s that are coming out simultaneously, and expect to see more of them rolling out, where liquidity will kind of get more fragmented in the initial state before we start to find solutions for combining it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jack. Well, yeah, I mean, even before kind of the Web3 space started to transition from really being like a lot of activity really centered in like the Ethereum layer 1 chain, and adoption started to kind of get to the point where it's there's more demand for block space, there's more use cases, more users in the space than a single layer 1 network like Ethereum can support. We need to scale, and we need to do it now. So it's really exciting. It's a milestone for the entire Web3 space. We've graduated to the point where there's users, there's demand, and we need to be able to scale up this consensus layer, this throughput of these networks that are processing transactions in order to meet demand. The challenge here is, Web3 is already an uphill battle, as Eugenie knows very well as well. Like, the crypto space, building for consumers, it's an uphill battle. Self-custody is somewhat of a frightening experience for new users, and you know, you know, layering on fragmentation of liquidity, of tokens, of applications across all of these different networks. And now users, not only they have to self-custody their own assets and they have to have good, OPSEC, but now they also have to think about, all right, how do I even go through the mechanics of buying a token on a different network? There's so many different bridges. Some bridges have experienced, hacks in the past. Some bridges are pretty expensive to use, and so we're not going to continue to scale and reach the next 10x number of users unless we really focus on reducing the amount of friction that users encounter as they try to get from A to B. And so, for Matcha, that really was our focus, is how do we create a user experience that is, users can feel confident, they can feel like they understand exactly what's going on. Everything is fast and secure. And so now with Matcha cross-chain swaps, we launched just yesterday, and I think what we have is a really solid foundation for how we can make it really, really easy for users to really only have to think about two things. What tokens do I have in my wallet and today, and what tokens do I want to have in my wallet in a minute from now? And regardless of where those tokens might be located, whichever chain they might be on. And I think this is really the missing puzzle piece that will allow adoption and users being able to seamlessly kind of migrate between different networks. I think this is the missing puzzle piece that will really allow it to take off. And yeah, but again, yeah, building for a multi-chain product is no easy task. And yeah, the Zerion portfolio tracker and wallet have really done an excellent job. We're thinking about this problem way earlier than most other products were. So yeah, I'm also curious to hear how Eugenie and Zerion are thinking about an increasingly multi-chain world.
Yeah, would love to hear Zerion team think about the same.
Um, I can definitely comment on that. This is like we spend all of our days thinking about this multi-chain world. First of all, I think just to comment on what Will said, we are very much aligned with where we see everything going. So as we find ourselves in like this abundance of block space by scaling through layer twos and rollups, I think it's basically now an inevitable future. And we also believe that it's going to be thousands, if not more, different kinds of L2s, with like ranging from ecosystem or like even generalized chains all the way to like app chains for very, very specific use cases. And solving the problem of cross-chain communication is definitely one of the biggest, I think, challenges for 2024. And I haven't yet tested the new Matcha release, but I'm actually very excited to see it in in practice. This is, I think, a very big step already in this direction. So on our end, we are somewhat in a more complex problem space because we have to do something similar, but for any kind of dApp. And I actually don't know if this is completely possible. So I think we might just basically reuse whatever is going to be available. Maybe like even use 0x for the cross-chain transacting and the cross-chain swapping. Sorry, but when it comes to actual like our ideal future in where we see Zerion is that. Whenever you are coming to a certain dApp, you don't have to think about what chain this dApp is launched on, and you should be able to immediately mint an NFT. I guess like put if it's a DeFi protocol, put liquidity into it from the chains where you have liquidity, or even like I guess like start posting immediately without having gas tokens. So all of that should be, I think, like the future of this ideal Web3 experience, and that obviously has to stay self-custodial. So this is the problem we kind of we are wrapping our heads around as of right now, and hoping to solve in 2024.
Really interesting. I want to dig into that custodial element a little bit later, but I think at the high level, it's maybe interesting to dive into Zerion a little bit more on the wallet side, given that I think that's one of the areas that you guys are pretty differentiated, is this kind of combination of both the cross-chain swap element as well as the user-facing wallet element to help abstract away some of those end complexities. Um, can you chat a little bit about how Zerion Wallet differs from other wallets for DeFi users? In addition to some of this network switching, where do you guys really think that the UX element can be improved relative to other wallet stacks?
Yeah, definitely. So, at the risk of repeating myself, I would highlight again the portfolio piece. So we started with basically the basics. So if you look at existing wallets, most of them, like I mean, let's not call an elephant in the room. They do not. They require users to manually add tokens, and especially like when it comes to DeFi, they don't even support these kind of tokens in your wallet. So basically, every user, whenever they interact with Web3, they don't know what kind of tokens they have inside their wallet. So essentially, after making a transaction, you see that your money is basically gone. So this is the first step. So you have to, the wallet has to understand what kind of assets you have. And it actually goes beyond just assets. It goes to all the NFTs, for example. So if you have minted a ticket to a conference inside your wallet should know and should show you that, okay, now you have this ticket as an NFT. So that's what we started with. And obviously we had an advantage here, given that we've been known already as a portfolio tracker with support for all kinds of DeFi positions and NFTs. And then we turned our attention to the transacting experience. And I think this is getting better in the space overall, but this is where Zerion is also differentiated from quite a lot of existing wallets, is that we obviously do phishing defense. So checking that the website that you're on is not a scam one, and we immediately notify the user, like, and not even like let you proceed if this is a fake website. And then the second one is whenever you initiate a transaction, there is a pop-up that calculates that, okay, like after this transaction, this is how much you actually going to get. So if this is again some kind of website that is trying to do something even legitimate, but you see that it's trying to do something that you didn't intend to do, you would see that in the wallet. So you don't have to trust blindly when signing a transaction. You can actually rely on the simulation to see that this is what you expect your wallet would do. So, and obviously next, this the whole transacting experience. So we show exactly the changes in all the balances very much like real time after you make a transaction, and not leaving the user in this limbo state of not knowing what happened to their wallet and their portfolio. And that applies to obviously cross-chain transactions as well. Yeah, so I would start here. So these two biggest like daily use cases for the wallet, we try to focus on, and obviously there are a lot of other things that we could improve. And I think like just to give a few like pieces where we are currently thinking is one is obviously custody, and we'll talk about that. And the second one is seamless cross-chain, as I mentioned previously.
That's really helpful. And I guess one question I'd have as a regular DeFi and wallet user is, I think a handful of wallet applications like Zerion have done a good job of helping identify contracts that are clearly malicious on the back end, and helping kind of remove users interacting with them without understanding what the underlying contract really refers to. I think we've also seen an increase in front end exploits, and kind of as those transition into phishing, right? From basically exploiting the front end and then changing the contracts they're connected to on the back end. Is that something you guys are also able to kind of solve for on the Zerion side with the wallet?
So ideally, so what happened in the past? So we are working with Blockade for the phishing defense, and usually these kind of attacks are spotted pretty quickly, and this website would be listed as a blacklisted. But again, I guess like this, the simulation is actually the thing that is supposed to save you. So even if it looks like a familiar website, you would see that it's trying to, I guess, like get your NFT and send it to your wallet, to someone else's wallet, or like try to get an unlimited USDC approval. So stuff like that should be caught on the simulation side, and later it's unlikely that it's going to happen in December, but we are actually going to release the pre-transaction checks. This is a little, I guess, like a technical name for us using a partner's code to basically understand the smart contract interaction itself and the history of this particular smart contract that you're trying to interact with. So this would even further increase the security of transacting.
Awesome. I think that's a really thoughtful response. Matcha team would love to dive back into some of the other things that you're working on. Um, would like to hear a bit more about what you guys have kind of been uh, up to in the Polygon ecosystem generally. There's obviously been a lot of things that we've been working on with Polygon 2.0 across POS, ZK, EVM, and CDK. Large ecosystem to tap into with both top of the funnel work on the wallet side and aggregator side, like yourselves, as well as enterprise and DeFi native applications. What have been some of the things that you guys have been working on the Polygon side that have been exciting, and what are some of the things that we can kind of look forward to in the ecosystem that you guys are thinking about?
Yeah, of course. Well, so one of the challenges of you know, building a DEX aggregator and you know, making sure that Matcha is able to provide the best possible price, find it wherever, you know, wherever it may be located, whichever liquidity sources might be the best. It's an arms race. So there is constantly, you know, innovative new decentralized exchange protocols, automated market makers, you know, all of this innovation that's going on in the decentralized exchange space, you know, is resulting in more and more decentralized exchanges existing and emerging all the time, including on Polygon proof of stake. And what this means is that, you know, we're constantly, you know, digging into the newest kind of decentralized exchange protocols, liquidity pools, and you know, understanding you know, which ones are going to make the biggest improvement to our routing and pricing. So that in itself is like a constant, always on effort to track down and integrate all of the different liquidity sources that exist on top of Polygon proof of stake. And I'm sure with the other Polygon chains, you know, there'll be a mad dash to integrate all of the dexes on those chains as well. But yeah, I mean, the focus recently has been how do we create a seamless cross-chain experience that abstracts away the network that you're interacting with through your wallet. So you can select a token on any network and a second token that you would like to purchase on any other network and make it a seamless kind of one-click transaction, or at least the closest thing we can get to it. But yeah, I would say, okay, so one thing I'm particularly excited about, and I think the Polygon ecosystem, you know, will really appreciate, is Matcha is kind of like a block explorer. So Matcha crawls and indexes the entire Polygon proof of stake blockchain and scrapes and indexes every single ERC20 token smart contract that exists. And so if you go to Matcha and you click on the search bar, you will find every single token that exists on the Polygon network. It doesn't matter if you deployed you know, a fun test contract with your friends, and you know only 3 of you know about its existence. If you search for that token on Matcha, you will find it. And you'll also find all of the liquidity sources that exist for that token. And so I think this is one of the really cool things that, about this infrastructure we're building behind Matcha, and that we also offer through our APIs to, uh, products such as Zerion, as well as we have full coverage of the entire Polygon proof of stake ecosystem. If you deploy a brand new token to the Polygon proof of stake network, within 15 minutes of you deploying that brand new token, it will show up within Matcha search, and you will be able to find and trade it frictionlessly. And so this is one of the things that we put a lot of work into this particular detail for Matcha. We want to make it possible for all of the community members, all of the niche use cases, all of the pockets of token holders to be able to go to Matcha and find their token and find all the liquidity that exists for it. It doesn't have to be a big name. It can be just a community token or something that you and your friends just use between each other. It can be anything. But if it exists on Polygon, you'll find it on Matcha. So that's one of the things that I'm really excited about. It's one of the things I'm proud of with Matcha is the ability to search for any token that exists as long as it follows the ERC20 standard.
Awesome. I'm going to interject here briefly just to address the crowd. We're about halfway through the space. I'm going to take this moment to reset the room and quickly thank
Kyle. I know you had something you wanted to jump in with. You wanna chat?
Oh, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, I think Jack might be rugged. He may not be able to hear me, but I'm going to briefly address the crowd and throw it back over to him quickly.
I'm not sure if we can hear Kyle right now, so maybe I'll ask one more question.
Hey, Jack.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Hey, Jack. You wanna come down and drop down and come back up? I think you're rugging.
Yep.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Just to address the crowd briefly, reset the room. Thank you all for coming out and speaking today to the speakers, Will and Evgeny. And thank you to the teams of Zerion and Matcha for coming out today also. I just want to briefly take a second and address the crowd and ask them to follow all the speakers on stage for taking their time today to be here today. And I'm going to throw it back over to Jack to continue the conversation.
All right, we're back. One thing I've been thinking a lot about, guys, is how the increasing effect of both L2 fragmentation as well as cross-chain swaps will affect liquidity on different dexes, right? And so I think something that's been really interesting for me lately is this idea of, in a world where liquidity is fragmented initially across multiple different L2s and potentially L1s, how does that really affect cross-chain swaps? And to help level set the question a little bit more, from the perspective of Polygon CDK, something that's been very interesting for me is with the progression and integration of both cross-chain swaps as well as the creation of the interop layer down the line, which will facilitate cross-chain liquidity within the Polygon ecosystem and other chains that are connected into the stack. It seems like there's a reality where in other chains, like perhaps OP Stack, that don't have this unified liquidity down the line will end up kind of fragmenting their liquidity depth across all of these different chains. And environments where there is some level of kind of liquidity transfer cross chain will be at an advantage in that, as an example, if I'm launching a CDK chain and let's say there's really deep LST liquidity on ZK EVM mainnet, rather than bootstrapping my own liquidity on the new L2, I may simply choose to use a message passing service or cross-chain swap service to actually allow my users to tap into liquidity that exists on the ZK EVM public chain. And then that in turn should allow volumes to more directly flow to wherever liquidity is deepest, which creates kind of a self-reinforcing cycle where chains that really have these cross-chain swaps or unified liquidity layers integrated are at a really big advantage for being able to see more volumes traded on their DEX pools. I'm curious, like, in your perspective, as someone that's both building the underlying technology for facilitating this, as well as someone that's seeing a lot of different implementations of unified liquidity and a lot of different DEXs and liquidity sinks, how are you guys kind of thinking about the transition towards cross-chain swapping, unified liquidity, and
how it can end up affecting users' ability to transact, as well as L2's ability to bootstrap liquidity on new chains.
I'm happy to take first crack at this question. It's a good question, and it's an interesting question too. So yeah, as we all kind of became aware over the last 3 or 4 years, uh, you know, decentralized exchange mechanisms can spin off uh, MEV. So they're depending upon how the kind of market mechanism works, there are ways that users can potentially end up with like poor trade execution and potentially even be kind of exploited to bots can come in and sequence transactions in a way that actually exploits users and uh, you know kind of in a zero sum way almost takes money away from kind of everyday traders and puts it in the pockets of really sophisticated trading bots. And this is something that we're well aware of now with just automated market makers and kind of normal swaps that happen on one chain. And the challenge of MEV just compounds in a multi-chain world with cross-chain transactions. There's more asynchronicity going on in the transaction. There's, in some cases, depending upon the kind of bridging mechanism, there's more latency, which, latency is the creator of arbitrage opportunities. So I think that cross-chain swaps will it'll be interesting to see how things evolve. There are different types of bridging solutions that I think speak to your question, Jack, about how does liquidity either consolidate or end up distributed. And I think it kind of depends. There's different types of bridges. There's kind of native bridges which allow users to deposit. Say for example, you can deposit your Ethereum tokens, ERC20 tokens on the Ethereum network into the proof of stake bridge, and you receive an IOU on essentially an IOU, not talking about like security considerations in any way, but just like you essentially end up with an IOU version of that token on Polygon proof of stake. It's a little bit time consuming to withdraw, but it is an IOU that is secured by the consensus of the Polygon network. There are other bridge mechanisms like Circle's cross-chain transfer protocol, where you simply burn your USDC on one network and it shows up in your Polygon proof of stake wallet, and it's there's zero market mechanism, there's zero opportunity for MEV extraction, and so there really isn't really liquidity that needs to exist to facilitate that transaction in a frictionless way, as long as you're using CCTP to bridge native USDC, then you're not going to have any of the downsides that come with trade, cross-chain trade execution. And then there are the bridges that are kind of like AMMs, and they, your ability to move between chains definitely depends on the amount of liquidity that's available to you. And there are market mechanisms that can potentially be exploited, potentially, introduce latency into the cross-chain swapping transaction. And, I think the direction that the kind of multi-chain space goes as a whole and how liquidity either fragments or consolidates, kind of as Jack, as you mentioned, kind of like unified liquidity versus distributed liquidity. I think it really will depend a lot on how adoption of these various bridging solution plays out. And I think all of these different bridging solutions have merits and trade-offs. So I personally think that it's really good that we have a variety of different technical solutions, different approaches, all existing alongside each other, because we'll get to kind of get the best of all of them.
Really thoughtful response. I appreciate that, Will. Evgeny, anything you want to add here?
Um, I definitely, I mean, that was a great response. So I think I'm thinking about it in a similar way. One thing I would add is that, like, from the user experience perspective, the mechanism of what USDC does, for example, so burn and mint, is something that, and also like DLN, for instance, as a network, they do cross-chain, I guess, like bridging without any AMMs in the way. So stuff like that is more preferable for the end user because it's faster. But at the same time, we see that on some of the rollups, breached versions of USDC are actually getting more traction than the IOU native USDC. So I'm here with Will, and we'll see how basically the adoption of different types of tokens on different rollups is going to evolve. And but I do feel that there are going to be advantages to I am reusing the same stack, so similar to Polygon CDK. I think it has, if not liquidity, it's going to be other advantages to the user experience if different rollups exist within the same stack. So basically, it could be just features that would enable cross-chain message passing that will enable more things across chains with the same underlying architecture. And I think it's a pretty strong case that and I think it's a good move on Polygon and to release the CDK to help the adoption of and like streamline the adoption of more layer twos.
Really interesting. Since we're starting to come up on time here, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of chances to chat about what's next on the roadmap for you guys, let's transition the flow of conversation a little bit. Starting off with Evgeny, would love to hear a little bit more about what the Zerion roadmap looks like over the next 3, 6, 12 months. I know 12 months is a long time in crypto years, but what are some of the things you guys are building? What are some of the products that you guys are looking forward towards launching in 2024?
I was like, think we just launched the extension. Give us a break. But I can definitely share a few more thoughts here. So first, I think that one of the biggest priorities right now for us is to, I wanted to mention it. It's like the EIP 6963, and we want to push forward that more and more dApps support it. It's not necessarily our work, but it's a lot of the the publicity work that we have to do around it, such that extensions become not just MetaMask and anyone can use their own preferred wallet. So that's something like in the immediate roadmap. In terms of, I guess, next year, we are obviously thinking a lot about this cross-chain experience, as we discussed already. But mainly, what we didn't talk too much about is the gasless experience. And I think for the adoption of different layer twos, this is probably, like, at least by how we see it, the biggest bottleneck. So users are still very much confused with what gas is and why you have to pay it, especially all the new ones. And it multiplies if you have millions and like thousands of L2s. So you not only need to bridge the token that you want to use on a certain rollup, you have to think and know what the underlying gas token for this network is. And this is going to be, I think, one of the challenges for us that we want to solve, and as much as we can in daily transacting life of a user, of a Web3 citizen. And I think, like, outside of that, we didn't touch the custody part at all. But this is another area where we spend our time. So EOAs are obviously, we all know the flaws of EOAs, but at the same time, the adoption for account abstraction is still kind of slow, and there are a lot of debates happening around the benefits of like MPC versus account abstraction, maybe combining them together to get the best experience. But how do we deal with moving existing assets from the EOAs to account abstracted wallets? And there are questions like that we are thinking about, and I think the rise of L2s could actually help with the adoption of account abstracted wallets. And this is the trend that we are closely watching as well here at Zerion, because we want to support and continue providing the greatest experience for the user, even if they have all of their funds now in account abstracted wallets, and possibly even lead the way when it comes to deploying account abstracted wallets. So yeah, I would mention these things. There are obviously a lot more happening behind the scenes.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Will, same question for you. What are some of the things we have to look forward to on the Matcha side?
Yeah. So a few things. As mentioned at the beginning of the call, we just launched yesterday cross-chain swaps, and making it really seamless to get any token on any network using kind of a familiar, simple swap user experience that you know and love already. And I think we did a really great job with this initial rollout. I think we're pretty close to nailing that cross-chain swap experience, but of course there's still lots of polishing and user feedback to gain. But we have a lot lined up for 2024. We have some really exciting projects in the pipeline that I'm excited uh, to share at a later moment. But in the meantime, yeah, we're really focused on nailing this cross-chain swapping experience and making it really easy to access tokens, no matter where they're located through Matcha.
Appreciate both of the thoughtful responses. And I think last question for me before I turn it back over to Kyle. This can be either in the wallet or cross-chain swap vertical or outside of it in DeFi and infrastructure tech broadly. There's been a lot of narratives that have been flying around lately, be it account abstraction, be it CDFI, movement to L2s, data availability via Celestia, restaking via Eigenlayer. Among all these different narratives, what are a couple things that you guys are really interested in and looking forward to seeing grow and mature over this next cycle that it feels like we're getting ready to enter? Maybe start with you, Will.
Yeah, happy
Starting with,
to.
sorry. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, okay. So one of the use cases that I've been really excited about for tokenization and smart contracts is prediction markets. So the ability to have liquid markets that speak to the probability of different outcomes occurring for events. So it could be like whether, I guess like the most familiar example is maybe like being able to do sports betting and bet on your favorite team. But if you generalize that and you allow people to have liquid markets that kind of reflect the kind of views or projections of kind of the internet hive mind, I think it's an extremely powerful technology, and can create kind of spit out really interesting and valuable information. And prediction markets. So actually, prediction markets were one of the first use cases that we attacked with the Augur team on top of Polygon proof of stake back. It must have been in 2020, and it feels like the technology is there. It feels like the use case is a good one. I'm not sure when prediction markets are going to have their moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in the next cycle. So that's a use case I'm super excited about. Prediction markets.
This was a kind of echoing Will. This was a mystery always for me why prediction markets never really took off. We obviously worked closely with Gnosis as well, and they've been doing that forever, it feels like, but essentially gave up. But I found myself from time to time going and checking some prediction markets when it comes to like events. I don't know if you watched the Sam Altman prediction market of like whether he's going to return as the CEO. So that was a quite it's like non-technical. There are obviously a lot of technical things that we can discuss that are very useful. But I think from just overall the expansion of the ecosystem, real world assets are necessary for us, and I see how like the adoption of stable coins is actually paving the way for mass adoption, and I think we need that. And when it comes to tokenizing existing assets, I think we won't be able to exist without that. And if we really want to make DeFi available globally, we have to have more variety of kinds of assets that exist on chain, especially given that our infrastructure now is much more scalable. So yeah, I'm excited to see that trend catching up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out. Prediction markets have been something that we've started to see uptake from, be it people like Polymarket that are deployed on POS that have really done a great job of reaching out and onboarding non-crypto native users and helping abstract away some of that onboarding process in a similar vein to which you guys are focused on, and really kind of offering things to the masses that are appealing. And even at an extension of that, you look at some of the kind of biggest names over the previous bear market cycle. It's people like Rollbit as well, where regardless of what your kind of perspective is on regulatory or the team, it's clear that there's been tremendous traction for the products that they're rolling out. And I think that one of the things that's really obvious very quickly on the DeFi side is that product and speculation go hand in hand to making a successful ecosystem. You can't have one without the other. And it's really kind of the combination of giving people opportunities to speculate and make money in tandem with showing them thoughtful crypto native product that helps really disintermediate something that they are regular users of, that leads to real brand loyalty and a robust ecosystem. And so it's definitely something that we're cognizant of, and I think that's a really good call out on the theme side, for things to be looking forward to next cycle. So hope people in the audience were paying attention on that one. In the interest of time, Kyle, I'm going to turn it back over to you to start wrapping up the AMA, but just want to say, Will, Evgeny, Matcha, and Zerion teams, thank you so much for being on. I think it was a really interesting conversation, and definitely looking forward to seeing both of the platforms continue to scale and iterate and build out the incredible tech stacks that you guys have been working on.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Evgeny. Great to chat.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that conversation. As we are closing in on the top of the hour and have to close out the space a few minutes early, I would like to get some closing remarks from everyone on stage. We can start off with Michael over on the Matcha account. I know you had something you wanted to share with the community.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it, Jack. Wonderful question and AMA we just did. Thank you, everybody. Pin the tweet. Check the pinned tweets, guys. I just posted the NFT. If you were here at the beginning, you remember me mentioning this. It's a free mint on Polygon through fair.xyz, which is a platform you probably know and love if you're a Polygon stan. Again, free mint. This is a hot NFT. I'm just going to say it myself. Take a look at it. Hit the pin tweet. You can't see it right now, but when you click on it, you're going to get a little flavor. This is to commemorate the cross-chain swaps that we just launched on Matcha and the browser extension that Zerion just launched. So this is the one and only collaborative NFT of this type. Get it right now. Limited edition. It's going to end in 5 days. It's an open mint, though. So get it while you can, guys. Free mint.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to throw it over to Will from Matcha for any closing remarks or CTAs for the community that you have.
Yeah. Well, closing thoughts. So first, love the Polygon community. Love the folks that are building on proof of stake chain. I love the core team that's building out this next generation of scaling technologies. So come check out Matcha. We're doing our best to create a really kind of comprehensive access point to seeing all the tokens that exist on Polygon, and allow you to get them at the very best price. And we're super excited about launching cross-chain swaps. We hope you'll give them a shot next time you need to do some bridging at matcha.xyz. And yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen and check in.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to throw it over to Evgeny from Zerion for any closing remarks or CTAs for the community.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for hosting this AMA, first of all. One thing I didn't mention, but Polygon actually has still, proof of stake Polygon has still the highest number of transactions monthly in Zerion. So thank you for that. And I'm glad you have this much adoption already. We're excited, obviously, for the future of ZK EVM and how this is going to develop and users using that within Zerion. If anyone hasn't seen that yet, we've just announced about a week ago announced the Zerion browser extension, which I encourage you all to try out and compare for yourself if it's actually making your Web3 experience better for any daily use and especially using Polygon. Thanks all.
Awesome. Thank you. And just briefly from our side, this is a weekly DeFi panel discussion space every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you drop a follow to the 0x Polygon DeFi handle and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of these conversations. Thank you all for stopping by today's DeFi panel discussion AMA, and I would like to extend our gratitude to the representatives from Matcha and Zerion, as well as Jack for taking the time out of today to speak with us. Make sure you drop a follow to all of our guest speakers on stage and check out what they are working on. Thank you guys all so much.
Thanks all.
Have a great day.
Mint NFT.